Chapter 1. The Early Life of Cleopatra. The Nile River flowed gently through the heart of Egypt, its waters shimmering under the golden sun. On its banks stood the grand city of Alexandria, a place of wonder and knowledge. In this city, in the year 69 BC, a girl was born who would become one of the most famous women in history. Her name was Cleopatra. From a young age, Cleopatra was different from other children. While her friends played in the palace gardens, she preferred to sit quietly, reading scrolls and studying maps. Her father, Ptolemy IV, was the pharaoh of Egypt. He loved Cleopatra dearly and recognized her intelligence and curiosity. He made sure she received the best education possible. Cleopatra learned many languages, including Greek, Egyptian, and Latin. She enjoyed studying mathematics and astronomy, finding the stars and numbers fascinating. The Great Library of Alexandria, one of the largest libraries in the ancient world, became her second home. She spent countless hours there, lost in the scrolls and books. Each day, she absorbed more knowledge, preparing herself for the future she knew would be challenging. Cleopatra's family life was complicated. The Ptolemaic dynasty was filled with intrigue and power struggles. Her father, Ptolemy XIV, faced many challenges during his reign. There were threats from within Egypt and from the mighty Roman Empire. Cleopatra watched and learned from these struggles, understanding that ruling Egypt required wisdom and strength. As Cleopatra grew older, she became more involved in the politics of her country. She listened to her father's advisors and observed the court's workings. She saw how alliances were made and broken, how trust could be a rare commodity in the palace. Cleopatra knew that to protect her people and her kingdom, she would need to be clever and brave. One day, when Cleopatra was about 14 years old, a great change came to her life. Her father was forced to flee Egypt due to political unrest. Cleopatra and her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, were left to rule in his absence. It was a daunting task for someone so young, but Cleopatra did not shy away from her responsibilities. She quickly proved herself to be a capable and intelligent leader. She worked tirelessly to stabilize the kingdom, showing a maturity beyond her years. Cleopatra's charm and eloquence won her many allies, and her strategic mind helped her navigate the complex political landscape. She knew that every decision she made could have significant consequences for her people. Cleopatra's intelligence and beauty were renowned throughout the ancient world. Her education had made her not just a scholar, but also a captivating speaker. She could converse with scholars and soldiers alike, understanding the intricacies of their fields. Her ability to switch between languages with ease impressed everyone she met. It was said that Cleopatra could hold her own in any conversation, whether it was about philosophy or the latest military strategies. Despite the challenges she faced, Cleopatra's love for her country never wavered. She often took long walks along the banks of the Nile, reflecting on the history of her land. She thought about the great pharaohs who had come before her and the legacy she wanted to leave behind. Cleopatra knew that Egypt was a land of great potential, a kingdom that had once been the jewel of the ancient world. She was determined to restore its glory. The years passed, and Cleopatra's wisdom and leadership grew stronger. She faced many trials, but each one only made her more resilient. She learned to trust her instincts and to use her intelligence to outmaneuver her enemies. Cleopatra understood that knowledge was power, and she never stopped seeking new information. The great library remained her sanctuary, a place where she could find peace and inspiration. Cleopatra's journey was just beginning. She knew that the path ahead would be filled with challenges and opportunities, but she was ready. With her sharp mind and unyielding determination, Cleopatra was prepared to face whatever came her way. She was not just a queen. She was a symbol of strength and wisdom for her people. Chapter 2. The Rise to Power. I remember the day my journey to power truly began. My father, Ptolemy the Queen, was in Rome, seeking support against our enemies. I was left in Alexandria, surrounded by advisors and courtiers who doubted me. I was just 18, but I knew I had to be strong for my people. I had to prove myself as a leader. The first challenge I faced was from my own brother, Ptolemy the 13th. We were supposed to rule together, but he and his advisors wanted to push me aside. They believed a young woman could not lead Egypt. I knew I had to act quickly to secure my position. I decided to gather support from those loyal to me. I spoke to the priests, the soldiers, and the common people. I used my intelligence and charm to win them over. I promised them a better future, a stronger Egypt. Slowly, they began to see me as their true leader. One evening, as the sun set over the Nile, I called a meeting with my most trusted advisors. We gathered in a small, dimly lit room in the palace. I laid out my plans to take control from my brother. It was a risky move, but I knew it was necessary. "We must act swiftly," I said, my voice steady. "We cannot let them push us aside. We must show them that I am the rightful ruler of Egypt." My advisors nodded, their faces serious. They believed in me, and that gave me strength. Over the next few weeks, we worked tirelessly to gain more support. We sent messages to our allies and gathered our forces. Then, the day came when I had to confront my brother. It was early morning, and the palace was quiet. I walked into the throne room, my heart pounding. Ptolemy the 13th sat on the throne, surrounded by his advisors. He looked surprised to see me. "Sister, what are you doing here?" he asked, his voice cold. "I am here to take my place as the rightful ruler of Egypt," I replied, standing tall. His advisors began to protest, but I raised my hand to silence them. "I have the support of the people," I said firmly. "They believe in me, and they know I can lead them to a better future." My brother's face twisted with anger. "You are just a girl," he spat. "You cannot rule Egypt." I took a deep breath, calming my nerves. "I am more than capable," I said, "and I will prove it to you." With that, my loyal soldiers entered the throne room, their swords drawn. The advisors stepped back, fear in their eyes. Ptolemy XIII had no choice but to surrender. I had won the first battle. With my brother out of the way, I began to focus on the challenges facing Egypt. The country was in turmoil, with threats from within and from the Roman Empire. I knew I had to act quickly to stabilize the kingdom. I spent long hours in the Great Library, studying the history of Egypt and the strategies of past rulers. I spoke to scholars and advisors, gathering as much knowledge as I could. I knew that to be a great leader, I needed to be well informed. One of the biggest challenges I faced was gaining the support of Rome. The Romans were powerful, and their influence in Egypt was growing. I knew I needed their backing to secure my position. I decided to send a message to Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome. I offered him an alliance, promising him wealth and support in exchange for his help. It was a bold move, but I knew it was necessary. Caesar agreed to meet with me. He arrived in Alexandria with his army, and I prepared to greet him. I knew this meeting could determine the future of my reign. The night before our meeting, I devised a plan to make a strong impression. I had myself rolled up in a carpet and delivered to Caesar's chambers. When the carpet was unrolled, I stood before him, my eyes meeting his. "Queen Cleopatra," he said, a smile playing on his lips. "You are full of surprises." "I am here to seek your support," I said, my voice steady. "Together we can bring stability to Egypt and strengthen our alliance." Caesar was impressed by my boldness and intelligence. He agreed to support me, and our alliance was sealed. With Rome's backing, I was able to secure my position as the Queen of Egypt. Over the next few years, I worked tirelessly to rebuild Egypt. I strengthened our economy, improved our infrastructure, and promoted education. I wanted to create a prosperous and powerful kingdom. There were many challenges along the way. I faced opposition from within and threats from outside. But I never wavered. I knew that I had a duty to my people, and I was determined to fulfill it. One of the most difficult times was when my father passed away. It was a great loss, but I knew I had to remain strong. I took on the full responsibilities of the throne, determined to honor his legacy. Through it all, I remained focused on my goal, to make Egypt a great and powerful kingdom once more. I knew it would not be easy, but I was ready to face any challenge that came my way. My journey to power was filled with trials and tribulations, but it made me stronger. I learned to trust my instincts and to rely on my intelligence and courage. I knew that as long as I remained true to myself, I could overcome any obstacle. As I stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out over the Nile, I felt a sense of pride. I had come a long way, but my journey was far from over. I knew that there were still many challenges ahead, but I was ready to face them. I was Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, and I would lead my people to greatness. Chapter 3. Cleopatra meets Julius Caesar. The city of Alexandria was tense with anticipation. Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome, had arrived with his army. I knew this was my chance to secure Egypt's future, but I had to make a strong impression. I had to meet Caesar face to face, but how could I do that when my enemies surrounded him? I came up with a bold plan. That night, under the cover of darkness, I had myself wrapped in a thick, luxurious carpet. My trusted servant, Apollodorus, carried the heavy bundle through the palace, carefully avoiding the guards. We reached Caesar's chambers, and Apollodorus presented the carpet to the Roman leader as a gift. Caesar ordered the carpet to be unrolled. As it unfurled, I emerged, standing tall and confident. Caesar's eyes widened in surprise, then softened with admiration. He was impressed by my daring. "Queen Cleopatra," he said, his voice warm, "you are full of surprises." "I seek your support," I replied, my voice steady. "Together, we can bring stability to Egypt and strengthen our alliance." Caesar smiled, clearly amused and intrigued. "You have courage and intelligence. Let us discuss how we can help each other." That night we talked for hours. I explained the political situation in Egypt and the threats I faced from my brother, Ptolemy XIII. Caesar listened intently, his eyes never leaving mine. He saw my determination and my vision for a strong, united Egypt. We formed a bond that night, one based on mutual respect and shared goals. Caesar agreed to support my claim to the throne. In return, I promised to aid him in his own ambitions. The next day, Caesar called for a meeting with Ptolemy XIII. My brother arrived with his advisors, unaware of the alliance I had formed with Caesar. He was shocked to see me standing beside the Roman general. "Brother," I began, "it is time to end this conflict. Egypt needs strong leadership, and with Caesar's support, we can achieve peace and prosperity. Ptolemy XII's face twisted with anger. You have betrayed us by bringing a Roman into our affairs, he spat. Egypt needs Rome's support, I replied calmly. Together, we can secure our kingdom's future. Caesar stepped forward, his presence commanding the room. Ptolemy, it is in your best interest to cooperate. Cleopatra and I have agreed to work together for the good of Egypt. Seeing no other option, my brother reluctantly agreed. We signed a treaty, and for a moment, peace returned to Egypt. With Caesar's support, I began to rebuild my kingdom. We worked closely together, strengthening Egypt's economy and military. Caesar admired my intelligence and strategic mind, and I valued his experience and power. Over time, our alliance grew stronger. Caesar became more than just a political partner. He became my confidant and friend. We shared our dreams and fears, our hopes for the future. But our relationship also stirred jealousy and tension within the palace. Many of my advisors and courtiers did not trust the Romans. They feared that Caesar would use his influence to take control of Egypt. I assured them that our alliance was based on mutual respect and shared goals. Despite the challenges, I remained focused on my vision for a prosperous Egypt. I traveled across the kingdom, meeting with leaders and gaining their support. I listened to the people's concerns and worked to address them. I wanted to show them that I was a queen who cared about their well-being. One evening, Caesar and I took a walk along the banks of the Nile. The air was cool, and the stars shone brightly in the night sky. We talked about the future and the challenges we still faced. Cleopatra, Caesar said, you have a rare gift. You can inspire people and make them believe in a better future. That is what makes you a true leader. I smiled, touched by his words. And you, Caesar, have given me the strength and support I needed to achieve my dreams. Together, we can accomplish great things. As we stood by the river, I felt a sense of hope and determination. I knew that with Caesar by my side, I could overcome any obstacle. I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead and to lead Egypt into a new era of prosperity. Our alliance withstood many trials. There were battles to fight and enemies to outmaneuver, but through it all, Caesar and I remained steadfast in our commitment to each other and to our shared vision for Egypt. The bond between us grew stronger each day, built on trust, respect, and a shared determination to create a better future for our people. Our story was just beginning, and I knew that together we would shape the destiny of Egypt and leave a lasting legacy. Chapter 4. The romance begins. After our first meeting, the bond between Caesar and me grew stronger each day. Our alliance was not just political, but also personal. We spent hours talking about our dreams, our fears, and our plans for the future. I admired his strength and intelligence, and he was captivated by my charm and determination. Caesar and I began to spend more time together. We walked through the gardens of the palace, discussing strategies and plans for Egypt. We dined together, enjoying the exotic foods and wines of our land. Our conversations were deep and meaningful, and I felt a connection with him that I had never felt before. Our relationship soon turned into something more. One evening, as we stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out over the Nile, Caesar took my hand. His touch was gentle but firm, and I felt a warmth spread through me. Cleopatra, he said softly, you are unlike anyone I have ever met. Your strength, your intelligence, your beauty, they all inspire me. I looked into his eyes and saw sincerity and passion. "Caesar," I replied, "you have given me hope and support. With you, I feel I can achieve anything." That night, our relationship changed forever. We became lovers, bound by a deep affection and mutual respect. Our love was powerful and intense, and it influenced every aspect of our lives. As our romance blossomed, so did our political alliance. With Caesar by my side, I felt invincible. We worked together to strengthen Egypt and improve the lives of our people. Caesar's support gave me the confidence to implement bold reforms and make difficult decisions. But our relationship also had its challenges. Many in the Roman Senate did not approve of our union. They saw me as a foreign queen who had bewitched their leader. Rumors and whispers spread, but Caesar stood by me, defending our relationship and our alliance. In Egypt, our romance was celebrated. The people saw Caesar as a hero who had come to support their queen. Together, we became a symbol of hope and strength. Our love story inspired songs and poems, and the people began to believe in a brighter future. One of our greatest achievements was the reformation of the Egyptian economy. With Caesar's help, I introduced new trade routes and improved our agricultural practices. We built granaries to store surplus grain, ensuring that our people would never go hungry. The wealth of Egypt grew, and our kingdom became more prosperous. We also focused on education and culture. We invited scholars and artists to Alexandria, creating a vibrant intellectual community. The great library became a center of learning, attracting thinkers from all over the world. Our efforts to promote knowledge and culture earned us respect and admiration. As our political influence grew, so did the love between Caesar and me. We shared many joyous moments, but we also faced our share of hardships. The pressures of ruling a kingdom and dealing with political enemies took their toll, but our love gave us strength. One of the most challenging times was when Caesar had to return to Rome. His enemies were growing stronger, and he needed to assert his authority. The night before he left, we stood on the balcony, holding each other close. "Cleopatra," he said, "I must go, but I promise to return. Our love and our alliance will endure." I nodded, trying to hold back my tears. "I will be waiting for you, Caesar. Our love is strong, and it will survive any distance." As Caesar left for Rome, I focused on ruling Egypt. I continued to implement the reforms we had planned, ensuring that our kingdom remained strong and prosperous. I knew that Caesar's support was vital, but I also knew that I had to be a capable ruler in his absence. The months passed, and our love endured the distance. We exchanged letters, sharing our thoughts and dreams. Each letter from Caesar filled me with hope and determination. I knew that we were connected by more than just politics. We were bound by a deep and unbreakable love. One day, a messenger arrived from Rome with a letter from Caesar. My heart raced as I opened it, eager to read his words. He wrote about his challenges in Rome, the battles he had fought, and his longing to return to me. His words were filled with love and devotion, and I felt a renewed sense of strength. With Caesar's encouragement, I continued to lead Egypt with confidence. I worked tirelessly to improve the lives of my people, knowing that each step forward was a testament to our love and partnership. Our bond gave me the courage to face any challenge and the determination to build a better future for our kingdom. Finally, the day came when Caesar returned to Egypt. The people of Alexandria gathered to welcome him, their cheers filling the air. As I stood on the palace steps, my heart swelled with joy at the sight of him. Caesar approached me, a smile on his face. Cleopatra, he said, I am home. I took his hand, my eyes filled with tears of happiness. Welcome back, Caesar. Together, we will continue to build our dream. Our reunion was a celebration of love and triumph. Together, we had overcome many obstacles, and our bond was stronger than ever. As we stood on the balcony, looking out over the Nile, I knew that our love and our alliance would shape the future of Egypt and Rome. Our romance was not just a personal journey, it was a powerful force that influenced the politics and destiny of our kingdoms. With Caesar by my side, I felt ready to face any challenge and to lead Egypt into a new era of prosperity and greatness. Our love was a beacon of hope, a testament to the strength and resilience of our spirits. Chapter 5. Life in Rome. Rome was unlike any place I had ever seen. It was vast, bustling with people and full of life. When Caesar invited me to join him there, I knew it was an opportunity to strengthen our alliance and learn more about the Roman Empire. I arrived in Rome with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The first thing that struck me was the grandeur of the city. The buildings were enormous, made of stone and marble. The streets were crowded with merchants, soldiers, and citizens going about their daily lives. The air was filled with the sounds of conversation, laughter, and the clatter of horses' hooves on the cobblestones. Caesar welcomed me with open arms, introducing me to his friends and allies. He took me to see the great monuments of Rome, the Forum, the Colosseum, and the Pantheon. Each structure was more impressive than the last, showcasing the power and wealth of the Roman Empire. Living in Rome was a new experience for me. The customs and traditions were different from those in Egypt. Romans dressed in togas and spoke Latin. They celebrated festivals and held grand feasts with an abundance of food and wine. I realized that to gain their respect, I needed to adapt to their ways. I began to learn Latin, practicing with Caesar and his advisors. I also observed the Roman women, noting their manners and behavior. They were strong and influential, playing important roles in society. I admired their confidence and grace, and I sought to blend my Egyptian heritage with Roman customs. One of the first challenges I faced was earning the trust of the Roman Senate. Many senators were wary of me, seeing me as a foreign queen who had bewitched their leader. They whispered behind my back, questioning my motives and loyalty. I knew I had to prove myself. Caesar supported me, vouching for my character and intelligence. He arranged for me to speak before the Senate, to present my vision for a strong alliance between Rome and Egypt. I prepared carefully, choosing my words with care and speaking with conviction. The day of my speech arrived, and I stood before the Senate, my heart pounding. I spoke about the shared history of our civilizations, the potential for mutual benefit, and the importance of unity. I emphasized that our alliance could bring prosperity and peace to both our lands. As I spoke, I saw the expressions of the senators change. Some nodded in agreement, while others remained skeptical. When I finished, there was a moment of silence before the hall erupted in applause. I had won their respect, at least for the moment. Life in Rome also brought new friendships. I met influential women like Fulvia and Octavia, who were impressed by my intelligence and determination. They invited me to their homes, where we discussed politics, culture, and the challenges of leadership. These friendships helped me feel more at home in this foreign land. Despite the initial challenges, I began to enjoy my time in Rome. I explored the city, visited the markets, and attended the grand feasts. I admired the Roman art and architecture, finding inspiration in their creativity and innovation. I also introduced some of my own Egyptian customs, sharing our traditions and cuisine with my new friends. One of the most memorable events was a grand banquet hosted by Caesar. The hall was decorated with flowers and filled with the aroma of delicious food. Musicians played soothing melodies and dancers entertained the guests. It was a night of celebration and joy. At the banquet, Caesar and I sat together, surrounded by Roman nobles and foreign dignitaries. We discussed politics and strategy, but we also shared stories and laughter. I felt a sense of belonging, knowing that I was part of something greater than myself. However, not everyone was pleased with my presence in Rome. There were still those who saw me as a threat, a foreign queen who had too much influence over their leader. I had to remain vigilant, always aware of the undercurrents of tension and rivalry. One evening, as I walked through the gardens of Caesar's villa, I reflected on my journey. I had come to Rome as an outsider, but I was slowly becoming part of its fabric. I was learning to navigate its complexities and to find my place within its power structure. I also thought about my people in Egypt. I missed my homeland, the warmth of the sun, and the gentle flow of the Nile. But I knew that my time in Rome was crucial for our future. The alliance with Caesar was essential for Egypt's stability and prosperity. As the months passed, I continued to build bridges between our cultures. I hosted gatherings where Egyptians and Romans could share ideas and learn from each other. I encouraged trade and cooperation, fostering a spirit of mutual respect and understanding. My relationship with Caesar grew deeper. We were partners in every sense, united by our shared goals and dreams. We supported each other through challenges and celebrated our successes together. Our love was a source of strength, giving us the courage to face the uncertainties of the future. Life in Rome taught me many lessons. I learned the importance of adaptability, the power of diplomacy, and the value of alliances. I also discovered my own resilience and ability to lead in unfamiliar circumstances. As I stood on the balcony of Caesar's villa, looking out over the city, I felt a sense of accomplishment. I had come to Rome as a foreign queen, but I had earned the respect and admiration of its people. I had strengthened the bond between our lands, paving the way for a brighter future. I knew that there were still challenges ahead, but I was ready to face them. With Caesar by my side and the support of my new friends, I felt confident in our ability to overcome any obstacle. Together, we would continue to shape the destiny of our kingdoms and leave a lasting legacy for generations to come. Chapter 6. The Ides of March. The Ides of March. A day that changed everything. It started like any other day in Rome. The sky was clear and the streets were busy. Caesar was scheduled to attend a meeting at the Senate. He left our villa with his usual confidence, unaware of the danger that awaited him. I stayed behind, feeling a strange unease in my heart. As the hours passed, the uneasy feeling grew stronger. I tried to focus on my duties, but my thoughts kept returning to Caesar. Then a messenger arrived at the villa, his face pale and his eyes wide with fear. He brought news that shattered my world. "Caesar is dead," he said, his voice trembling. The words hit me like a blow. For a moment I couldn't breathe. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Julius Caesar, the man who had changed my life, was gone. I felt a surge of emotions, grief, anger, disbelief. I wanted to scream, to cry, to lash out at the world. But I knew I had to stay strong. I had to think about what to do next. I gathered my thoughts and called for my trusted advisors. We needed to plan our next steps. Rome was no longer safe for me. With Caesar gone, I had lost my protector and ally. I knew that there would be those who would seek to harm me. "We must return to Egypt," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "We cannot stay here." My advisors agreed. We made preparations to leave as quickly as possible. I knew that leaving Rome meant leaving behind the life I had built with Caesar, but I had no choice. My duty was to my people and to my kingdom. The journey back to Egypt was long and filled with sorrow. As I sailed down the Nile, I reflected on the times I had spent with Caesar, his laughter, his wisdom, his strength. He had been more than just a political ally. He had been my friend, my lover, my partner. I thought about the dreams we had shared for a prosperous Egypt and a united Rome. Those dreams seemed so distant now, shattered by the betrayal that had taken his life. But I knew that I couldn't give up. I had to continue our work, to honor his memory by fighting for our shared vision. When I arrived in Alexandria, I was greeted by my people. They could see the grief in my eyes, but they also saw my determination. I had returned to lead them, to guide Egypt through this difficult time. I spent the first few days mourning in private, allowing myself to feel the pain of my loss. But soon, I knew I had to step back into my role as queen. There were many challenges to face, and I needed to be strong for my people. One of the first tasks was to ensure the stability of our kingdom. With Caesar gone, there was a power vacuum in Rome that could have repercussions for Egypt. I needed to secure our borders and strengthen our alliances. I reached out to our neighboring kingdoms, reaffirming our friendships and forging new bonds. I also focused on the internal affairs of Egypt. I met with my advisors, discussing ways to improve our economy and strengthen our military. I wanted to ensure that we were prepared for any threats that might come our way. Throughout this time, I kept Caesar's memory close to my heart. His teachings, his vision, his love, they all guided me as I made decisions for my kingdom. I wanted to make him proud, to show the world that his legacy lived on through my actions. One evening, as I walked through the palace gardens, I looked up at the stars. They were the same stars that had shone over Rome, over the Nile, over all the places where Caesar and I had shared our dreams. I felt a sense of peace, knowing that he was still with me in spirit. I also thought about the future. I knew that there were still many challenges ahead, but I felt ready to face them. I had learned so much from Caesar, and I was determined to use that knowledge to build a better Egypt. In the months that followed, I worked tirelessly to strengthen our kingdom. I introduced new trade routes, improved our agricultural practices, and invested in education and culture. I wanted to create a prosperous and thriving Egypt, one that would honor Caesar's memory and fulfill our shared dreams. There were times when I felt overwhelmed by the weight of my responsibilities. But I always remembered Caesar's words, his encouragement, his belief in me. Those memories gave me the strength to keep going, to keep fighting for our vision. As time passed, the pain of losing Caesar began to fade, replaced by a deep sense of gratitude for the time we had shared. I knew that I had been fortunate to have known him, to have loved him, and to have been loved by him. The Ides of March had taken Caesar from me, but it had also given me a renewed sense of purpose. I was more determined than ever to lead Egypt into a new era of prosperity and greatness. I knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but I was ready to face whatever challenges came my way. With each passing day, I felt more confident in my role as queen. I knew that I was not alone. I had the support of my people and the memory of Caesar to guide me. Together, we would build a brighter future for Egypt, one that would honor the legacy of the man who had changed my life forever. Chapter 7. Rebuilding Egypt. Rebuilding Egypt after Caesar's death was the greatest challenge of my life. I knew that I had to be strong, not just for myself, but for my people. The loss of Caesar had left a void, but it also gave me a renewed sense of purpose. I was determined to make Egypt a prosperous and powerful kingdom once more. The first step was to stabilize our economy. Egypt was rich in resources, but we needed to manage them wisely. I called a meeting with my advisors and laid out my plans. We discussed ways to improve our agriculture, increase trade, and ensure that our people had enough to eat. One of the key strategies was to build new granaries to store surplus grain. This would protect us from famine during bad harvests and allow us to trade with other nations. I also encouraged farmers to adopt new techniques to increase their yields. We introduced better irrigation systems and shared knowledge about crop rotation. Trade was another vital aspect of our economy. I knew that Egypt's location made it a natural hub for commerce between Africa, Asia, and Europe. I sent envoys to neighboring kingdoms, forging new trade agreements and strengthening old ones. We exported our grain, papyrus, and linen, bringing wealth back to our land. To support this increased trade, I invested in our infrastructure. We built new roads and improved our ports, making it easier for merchants to travel and trade. These projects also created jobs for our people, giving them a sense of purpose and pride. But economic strength was not enough. I wanted Egypt to be a center of culture and learning. I turned my attention to the Great Library of Alexandria. This magnificent institution had been neglected, and I was determined to restore it to its former glory. I invited scholars from all over the world to come and share their knowledge. The library became a beacon of learning once more. Scholars studied mathematics, astronomy, literature, and philosophy. They wrote books and taught students, spreading knowledge throughout the kingdom. I was proud to see Egypt regain its reputation as a center of culture and intellect. Art and architecture were also important to me. I wanted our cities to reflect the beauty and grandeur of our civilization. We commissioned new buildings, temples, and statues, blending Greek and Egyptian styles. These projects showcased our wealth and artistic talent, impressing visitors from other lands. One of my favorite projects was the renovation of the Temple of Isis at Philae. This temple was sacred to our people, and I wanted it to be a place of beauty and peace. We restored the carvings and added new sculptures, creating a serene environment for worship and reflection. Education was another priority. I believed that a strong kingdom needed educated citizens. I established schools where boys and girls could learn to read, write, and study mathematics and science. We also taught them about our history and culture, instilling a sense of pride in their heritage. I often visited these schools, talking to the children and encouraging them to pursue their studies. I wanted them to know that their queen cared about their future and believed in their potential. Seeing their bright faces and eager minds filled me with hope for the future of Egypt. Of course, there were challenges along the way. Not everyone supported my reforms. Some of the old nobles resisted change, fearing it would diminish their power. But I was determined to push forward. I held meetings, listened to their concerns, and worked to find compromises. I knew that to succeed, I needed the support of my people. I also faced external threats. Rome was still a powerful presence, and I had to be careful in my dealings with them. I maintained a delicate balance, ensuring that Egypt remained independent while fostering good relations with the Romans. I knew that our future depended on diplomacy as much as on strength. Through it all, I felt the presence of Caesar guiding me. His teachings, his vision, his love, they all inspired me to keep going. I often thought about what he would do, how he would handle the challenges we faced. His memory gave me strength and courage. The years passed, and Egypt began to flourish. Our economy grew stronger, our culture thrived, and our people felt a renewed sense of pride. We celebrated festivals, honored our gods, and shared our successes with the world. The changes we made were not just superficial, they were deep and lasting, creating a foundation for a brighter future. One evening, as I walked through the streets of Alexandria, I felt a sense of peace. I saw children playing, merchants trading, and families enjoying their lives. I knew that we had come a long way from the dark days after Caesar's death. We had rebuilt our kingdom, and it was stronger than ever. I looked up at the stars, remembering the times Caesar and I had talked about our dreams. I felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that I had honored his memory by making those dreams a reality. I knew that there were still challenges ahead, but I was ready to face them. With the support of my people and the strength of our culture, I felt confident that Egypt would continue to prosper. Rebuilding Egypt was not just a task, it was a journey of discovery and growth. I had learned so much about myself, my people, and the world. I felt a deep connection to my kingdom, a sense of responsibility and pride. I knew that our story was far from over, and I was excited to see what the future held. As I stood there, surrounded by the beauty and vitality of my kingdom, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. I was grateful for the support of my advisors, the hard work of my people, and the legacy of Caesar. Together, we had built something beautiful, something lasting. And I knew that as long as we continued to work together, the future of Egypt would be bright. Chapter 8. Cleopatra and Mark Antony. The day I met Mark Antony was a turning point in my life and in the history of Egypt. Antony, a powerful Roman general, arrived in Alexandria with a fleet of ships, seeking an alliance. The tension was palpable as we prepared to meet. I knew that this encounter could shape the future of our kingdoms. Antony entered the palace with his entourage, a man of imposing stature and confident demeanor. His presence filled the room. I welcomed him warmly, aware that first impressions were crucial. He looked at me with keen interest, and I could sense a mutual curiosity. "Queen Cleopatra," he said, bowing slightly, "I am honored to be in your presence." "General Antony," I replied, meeting his gaze, "welcome to Alexandria. I hope we can find common ground and work together for the benefit of our people." We sat and talked, surrounded by my advisors and his officers. Antony spoke of Rome's power and the potential for a strong alliance with Egypt. I listened carefully, weighing his words and considering my response. I knew that an alliance with Antony could strengthen my position, but I also knew that I had to be cautious. After the formal discussions, we moved to a more relaxed setting. A grand feast was prepared, showcasing the best of Egyptian cuisine. Antony was impressed by the splendor of the palace and the richness of our culture. As the evening progressed, we found ourselves talking more personally, sharing stories of our lives and our dreams. I could see that Antony was a man of ambition and passion, much like Caesar. But there was also a warmth and humor in him that I found captivating. He spoke of his battles, his victories, and his challenges with a mixture of pride and humility. I felt a connection forming between us, a bond that went beyond politics. Over the next few days, Antony and I spent more time together. We toured Alexandria, visiting the great library, the temples, and the bustling markets. Antony was fascinated by our history and culture, and he admired the progress we had made since Caesar's time. I could see that he respected me as a leader, and that respect was mutual. Our relationship soon blossomed into a romance. Antony's strength and confidence complemented my own, and together we felt unstoppable. We shared a deep affection and a mutual desire to create a powerful alliance that would benefit both our lands. Our love was passionate and intense, but it was also strategic. We both knew that our union could bring stability and prosperity to our kingdoms. Antony decided to stay in Alexandria longer than planned. He was drawn to the city and to me, and I welcomed his presence. We spent our days discussing plans for the future and our nights sharing moments of tenderness and laughter. I felt a sense of joy and hope that I had not felt since Caesar's death. But our romance was not without its challenges. Back in Rome, there were those who disapproved of Antony's relationship with a foreign queen. Rumors and gossip spread, questioning his loyalty and his intentions. Antony, however, remained steadfast. He believed in our alliance and our love, and he was determined to protect both. We faced political obstacles as well. Rome was a powerful entity, and its influence stretched far and wide. Antony had to navigate the complexities of Roman politics while maintaining his commitment to our partnership. It was a delicate balance, but we supported each other through every challenge. One of the most significant moments in our alliance was the signing of the Treaty of Alexandria. This agreement solidified our partnership, outlining the terms of our cooperation and mutual support. We agreed to share resources, military aid, and strategic information. The treaty was a symbol of our commitment to each other and to our shared vision for the future. Our alliance brought immediate benefits to Egypt. With Antony's support, we strengthened our military, secured our borders, and expanded our trade networks. The people of Egypt began to see the positive impact of our partnership, and their trust in my leadership grew. Antony and I also focused on cultural exchange. We encouraged scholars, artists, and thinkers to travel between our lands, sharing knowledge and ideas. This exchange enriched both our civilizations, fostering a spirit of cooperation and mutual respect. Despite the challenges, our love continued to grow. Antony's presence in my life brought me joy and strength. We were not just allies, we were partners in every sense. Together we faced the world with determination and hope, confident in our ability to overcome any obstacle. One evening, as we stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out over the Nile, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The river flowed gently under the moonlight, a symbol of the life and vitality of our land. Antony stood beside me, his hand in mine, and I knew that we were building something lasting and beautiful. "Cleopatra," he said, his voice soft and filled with emotion. "Together we can achieve greatness. Our love and our alliance will shape the future of our kingdoms." I nodded, feeling the truth of his words. "Yes, Antony. Together we are stronger. We will create a legacy that will be remembered for generations to come." As we stood there, united in our love and our vision, I felt a sense of peace and purpose. The future was uncertain, but with Antony by my side, I knew that we could face anything. Our bond was powerful, forged in the fires of passion and ambition, and it would guide us through whatever lay ahead. The encounter between Cleopatra and Mark Antony had indeed led to a powerful alliance and a romance that would shape the destiny of Egypt and Rome. Our story was far from over, and I was ready to face the challenges and opportunities that the future would bring, confident in the strength of our partnership and the depth of our love. Chapter 9. The Golden Age of Egypt. Under the rule of Mark Antony and me, Egypt entered a golden age. The kingdom flourished, and our people enjoyed a time of peace and prosperity. We worked tirelessly to improve our lands, and the results were remarkable. One of our greatest achievements was the advancement of agriculture. We introduced new farming techniques and improved irrigation systems. The fertile lands along the Nile produced bountiful harvests, providing food for all. We built granaries to store surplus grain, ensuring that no one would go hungry during times of drought or poor harvests. The abundance of food allowed us to trade with neighboring kingdoms, bringing wealth into Egypt. We also focused on trade and commerce. The ports of Alexandria were bustling with activity as ships arrived from all corners of the world. We traded grain, papyrus, linen, and spices, establishing Egypt as a major hub of international trade. The wealth generated from this commerce funded many of our projects and improved the lives of our people. Education and culture were also at the heart of our reign. The great library of Alexandria became a center of learning once more. Scholars from Greece, Rome, and beyond came to study and share their knowledge. We encouraged the translation of important works into Greek and Egyptian, making knowledge accessible to more people. The library's collection grew, and it became a beacon of enlightenment in the ancient world. Art and architecture thrived during this golden age. We commissioned the construction of magnificent buildings and temples, blending Greek and Egyptian styles. The Temple of Isis at Philae was one of our proudest projects. Its beautiful carvings and statues attracted visitors from far and wide. The streets of Alexandria were adorned with statues and fountains, showcasing the artistic talent of our people. We also celebrated our prosperity with grand festivals and public celebrations. The festival of Opé was one of the most magnificent. It was a time of joy and thanksgiving, where the people of Egypt came together to honor the gods and celebrate our success. The streets were filled with music, dancing, and feasting. It was a time of unity and happiness. Antony and I took part in these celebrations, sharing in the joy of our people. We rode through the streets in golden chariots, waving to the cheering crowds. It was a time of great pride and fulfillment for both of us. We felt a deep connection to our people and a sense of accomplishment in what we had achieved. Our rule was not without challenges, but we faced them with determination and strength. We dealt with threats from within and outside our borders. Some Roman leaders disapproved of Antony's alliance with me and sought to undermine our power. But we stood firm, united in our love and our vision for Egypt. We worked tirelessly to protect our kingdom and ensure its continued prosperity. The Golden Age of Egypt was also a time of personal happiness for me. Antony and I shared a deep bond, and our love grew stronger each day. We supported each other in our duties and found joy in the simple moments we shared together. Our partnership was a source of strength and inspiration for both of us. One of the most memorable events of this golden age was the opening of the new theatre in Alexandria. It was a grand structure designed to showcase the best of Greek and Egyptian drama. The opening night was a magnificent affair, attended by scholars, artists, and dignitaries from across the kingdom. The performance was a tribute to the rich cultural heritage of our lands, blending the traditions of both Greece and Egypt. As we watched the play, I felt a deep sense of pride in what we had accomplished. We also invested in the health and well-being of our people. We built new hospitals and improved the existing ones, ensuring that medical care was available to all. We invited skilled physicians from Greece and Rome to train our doctors and share their knowledge. The health of our people improved, and their quality of life increased. The Golden Age of Egypt was a testament to what could be achieved through unity and vision. Antony and I worked together to create a prosperous and thriving kingdom, one that would be remembered for generations to come. Our efforts brought stability and wealth to our land, and our people enjoyed the benefits of our hard work. As I looked out over the bustling streets of Alexandria, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The city was alive with activity, and the people were happy and prosperous. I knew that we had created something special, something that would endure long after we were gone. The Golden Age of Egypt was a time of joy and achievement, and I was proud to have been a part of it. Antony and I often reflected on our journey and the challenges we had overcome. We knew that our partnership had been instrumental in achieving this golden age. Our love and mutual respect had guided us through difficult times and inspired us to strive for greatness. We were not just rulers. We were partners in every sense, united in our vision for a better future for Egypt. As the sun set over the Nile, casting a golden glow over the city, I felt a deep sense of peace. The Golden Age of Egypt was a time of prosperity and happiness, and I knew that our legacy would live on. We had built a kingdom that was strong, vibrant, and full of life. And as long as the Nile continued to flow, so too would the spirit of Egypt. Chapter 10. Conflict with Rome. The tension between Rome and us began to grow. Antony and I had enjoyed a period of prosperity, but the political climate was changing. In Rome, Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, was becoming more powerful. He saw our alliance as a threat and sought to undermine us. The conflict began with words. Octavian spread rumors about Antony and me, questioning our loyalty to Rome. He accused us of trying to build an empire that would rival Rome's power. Antony was furious, but we both knew we had to be careful. We couldn't afford to make rash decisions that would jeopardize our kingdom. One evening, as we sat in the palace discussing our options, Antony spoke with determination. "Cleopatra, we must prepare for the worst. Octavian will not stop until he has destroyed us. We need to strengthen our defenses and gather our allies." I nodded, agreeing with his assessment. "We have many friends, Antony. We will call on them for support. Egypt is strong, and we will not be defeated easily." We sent messengers to our allies, seeking their aid. We also began to fortify our borders and strengthen our army. Antony took charge of the military preparations, while I focused on securing political support. We knew that a conflict with Rome would be challenging, but we were determined to protect our kingdom. As the months passed, the tension escalated. Octavian continued his campaign against us, and his accusations grew more aggressive. He claimed that Antony had abandoned Rome and become a puppet of Egypt. He used these lies to rally support in the Senate, preparing for a confrontation. The breaking point came when Octavian declared war on us. He convinced the Senate that we were a threat to Rome's security, and they gave him their backing. Antony and I knew that the time for preparation was over. We had to act. Our first major battle took place at sea, near the coast of Greece. Antony led our fleet, confident in his naval strategy. I stayed behind in Alexandria, praying for his success. The Battle of Actium was fierce, with both sides fighting bravely. But Octavian's forces were better equipped and more numerous. Despite Antony's best efforts, we suffered a devastating defeat. News of the loss reached me quickly. My heart sank as I realized the gravity of our situation. Antony returned to Alexandria, his face grim. "We must regroup," he said, his voice filled with determination. "This is not the end. We will fight back." But the defeat at Actium had weakened our position. Many of our allies began to waver, fearing Rome's power. We worked tirelessly to rebuild our forces and secure more support, but the situation was dire. The shadow of Rome loomed large, and Octavian was relentless. Despite the mounting pressure, Antony and I remained united. Our love and commitment to each other gave us strength. We spent long hours strategizing, planning our next moves. We knew that the coming battles would be crucial, and we prepared ourselves for the challenges ahead. As Octavian's forces advanced, we decided to make our stand in Alexandria. The city was our stronghold, and we believed that we could defend it against the Romans. We fortified the walls, trained our soldiers, and prepared for a siege. The people of Alexandria stood with us, ready to fight for their home. The siege began with Octavian's forces surrounding the city. They cut off our supply lines, hoping to starve us into submission. But we were determined to hold out. Antony led our soldiers with courage, inspiring them to stand firm. I worked to maintain morale, assuring the people that we would prevail. Days turned into weeks, and the siege dragged on. The strain on our resources was immense, but we refused to give up. Antony and I shared moments of hope and despair, our bond growing stronger with each passing day. We knew that our fate was intertwined, and we faced the challenges together. One night, as we stood on the palace balcony, looking out over the besieged city, Antony spoke softly. "Cleopatra, whatever happens, know that I have always loved you. We have fought for a noble cause, and I am proud of what we have achieved." Tears filled my eyes as I took his hand. "Antony, I feel the same. We have given everything for our people, and I would not change a single moment. We will face whatever comes together." As the siege continued, the situation grew more desperate. Food and supplies dwindled, and our soldiers were exhausted. But we held on, driven by our determination and love for our kingdom. Octavian's forces pressed harder, seeking to break our resolve. Finally, the walls of Alexandria could hold no more. Octavian's troops breached the defences, flooding into the city. Antony and I knew that the end was near. We made a final stand, fighting alongside our soldiers, determined to protect our home to the last. In the chaos of the battle, Antony was wounded. I rushed to his side, my heart breaking at the sight of his injuries. "Stay with me, Antony," I pleaded, tears streaming down my face. He looked at me with love and pain in his eyes. "Cleopatra, live for our dream. Lead our people. Promise me you will not give up." I nodded, my voice choked with emotion. "I promise, Antony, I will carry on our fight." As Antony's life slipped away, I felt a deep emptiness. But I knew I had to honor his last wish. The conflict with Rome had taken its toll, but I would not let our dream die. I would continue to fight for Egypt, for our people, and for the legacy we had built together. The struggle against Rome was far from over, and I steeled myself for the challenges ahead. I would face Octavian and his forces with all the strength and determination I could muster. The fight for Egypt's future was not yet finished, and I would carry on, driven by the love and memory of Antony. Chapter 11. The Battle of Actium. The day of the Battle of Actium was bright and clear. The sun shone on the blue waters of the Ionian Sea as Antony and I stood on the deck of our flagship. We knew this battle would be decisive. Our fate and the future of Egypt hung in the balance. We had prepared our fleet for months, gathering ships and training our men. Now, the time had come to face Octavian's forces. The Roman fleet was vast and well organized. As we watched their ships approach, I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach. But I also felt a surge of determination. We had come too far to turn back now. Antony stood beside me, his face calm and resolute. He gave orders to our captains, and the ships moved into formation. The battle began with a clash of oars and the roar of catapults. Our ships sailed forward, meeting the Romans head-on. Arrows flew through the air, and the sound of metal striking wood filled the air. Antony's strategy was to break through the Roman lines and create confusion. At first it seemed to be working. Our ships rammed into the enemy, and for a moment it looked like we had the upper hand. But Octavian's fleet was well prepared. They quickly regrouped, and their ships surrounded us. The battle became chaotic. Our men fought bravely, but the Romans were relentless. The sea turned red with blood, and the air was filled with the cries of the wounded and dying. I stayed on the flagship, watching the battle unfold. My heart pounded with fear and hope. I knew that if we lost, our dream of a prosperous Egypt would be shattered. Antony fought with all his might, directing our forces and rallying the men. His courage inspired me, and I felt a deep sense of pride in him. As the hours passed, the tide of the battle turned against us. The Roman fleet was too strong, and our ships began to falter. Antony and I exchanged a glance, understanding the gravity of our situation. We had to make a decision. Should we continue to fight and risk total destruction, or should we retreat and save what we could? Antony called for a retreat. It was a difficult decision, but we knew it was the only way to preserve our forces. We signaled our ships to pull back, and they slowly disengaged from the battle. The Romans pursued us, but we managed to hold them off long enough to escape. We sailed back to Egypt with heavy hearts. The defeat at Actium was a devastating blow. Our fleet was in ruins, and our hopes for a swift victory were dashed. But Antony and I refused to give up. We knew that the fight was not over. We still had our army and our people, and we would continue to resist Octavian's advances. In Alexandria, we regrouped and assessed the damage. Our losses were severe, but we still had some strength left. We began to rebuild, preparing for the next phase of the conflict. Antony and I spent long hours discussing our strategy, determined to protect our kingdom. The Battle of Actium had tested us in ways we had never imagined. It had shown us the strength and resilience of our people. Despite the defeat, we found solace in each other. Our bond grew stronger as we faced the challenges ahead. We knew that Octavian would not stop. He would continue to pursue us until he had complete control. But we were determined to stand our ground. We would fight for Egypt, for our people, and for the dream we had built together. As we prepared for the next battle, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The defeat at Actium had not broken us. It had made us more determined to succeed. I looked at Antony, and I saw the same resolve in his eyes. We were ready to face whatever came next, confident in our love and our vision for the future. The Battle of Actium was a turning point, but it was not the end. It was a reminder of the challenges we faced and the strength we needed to overcome them. Antony and I would continue to fight, driven by our love for each other and our commitment to our people. The future was uncertain, but we were ready to face it together. In the days that followed, we worked tirelessly to rebuild our forces. We called on our allies, seeking their support. We trained our soldiers, preparing them for the battles ahead. The defeat at Actium had shown us the importance of unity and determination. One evening, as the sun set over Alexandria, Antony and I stood on the palace balcony. We watched the city below, bustling with life and activity. Despite the challenges, our people remained hopeful. They looked to us for guidance and strength, and we were determined not to let them down. "Cleopatra," Antony said, his voice filled with resolve. "We will overcome this. We have faced difficult times before, and we have always come through. Our love and our vision will see us through this as well." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and love for him. "Yes, Antony. We will face whatever comes together. Egypt is strong, and we will protect it with all our might." As we stood there, united in our resolve, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The Battle of Actium had been a harsh lesson, but it had also strengthened our bond and our determination. We would continue to fight for our kingdom, for our people, and for the dream we had built together. The road ahead was long and filled with challenges, but we were ready to face them. With Antony by my side, I knew that we could overcome anything. Our love and our vision for Egypt would guide us through the darkest times and lead us to a brighter future. Chapter 12. The Aftermath of Actium. The aftermath of the Battle of Actium weighed heavily on us. Our defeat had shattered our hopes of a swift victory. Antony and I sailed back to Egypt, our hearts heavy with the burden of failure. The journey was long and filled with silence, each of us lost in our thoughts. Upon our return to Alexandria, we were greeted by our loyal supporters. They could see the despair in our eyes, but offered their unwavering support. We had no time to dwell on our defeat. We needed to plan our next steps. Our first priority was to assess the damage. We had lost many ships and soldiers at Actium. Our fleet was in ruins, and our resources were depleted. Antony and I spent hours with our advisors, discussing how to rebuild our forces. We knew that Octavian would not rest until he had defeated us completely. "Cleopatra," Antony said one evening as we sat in the palace, "we must strengthen our defenses. We need to prepare for the inevitable attack. Octavian will come for us, and we must be ready." I nodded, agreeing with him. "We also need to secure our alliances," I added. "We cannot face Rome alone. We must call on our friends and allies for support." We sent messengers to our allies, seeking their aid. Some responded with promises of help, while others were hesitant, fearing Rome's power. We understood their concerns, but remained determined to gather as much support as possible. In the meantime, we focused on fortifying Alexandria. We strengthened the city's walls, built new defenses, and trained our soldiers rigorously. Antony took charge of the military preparations, working tirelessly to ensure our forces were ready for the next battle. I too took an active role, meeting with the people and boosting their morale. They needed to see that their queen was strong and confident, even in the face of adversity. Despite the mounting pressure, Antony and I found solace in each other's company. Our bond grew stronger as we faced these challenges together. We shared moments of quiet reflection, drawing strength from our love and commitment to our cause. One evening, as we walked through the palace gardens, Antony spoke of his hopes for the future. "Cleopatra," he said, "we have faced many trials, but I believe we can overcome this. Our love and our vision for Egypt will guide us through these dark times." I looked at him, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for his unwavering support. "Yes, Antony," I replied. "We will face whatever comes together. We must remain strong for our people and for each other." As the days turned into weeks, The reality of our situation became clearer. We received news that Octavian was gathering his forces, preparing to march on Egypt. The threat was imminent, and we had to act quickly. We held a council of war, bringing together our most trusted advisors and allies. Antony laid out his strategy, outlining our defenses and potential battle plans. We knew that the coming conflict would be brutal, but we were determined to protect our kingdom. "Our strength lies in our unity," Antony declared. "We must stand together and fight with all our might. We cannot allow Octavian to destroy what we have built." I added my voice to his. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for our people and our future. We must be brave and resolute. Egypt's destiny is in our hands." The council agreed, and preparations for the defense of Alexandria continued. We knew that the coming battle would be our greatest test, but we faced it with determination and hope. As the threat of war loomed, I also took steps to ensure the safety of our children. I arranged for them to be taken to a secure location, away from the conflict. It was a difficult decision, but I knew it was necessary. Their safety was paramount, and I could not risk their lives in the coming battle. The days leading up to the confrontation were filled with tension. Antony and I worked tirelessly, rallying our forces and finalizing our plans. We knew that our chances were slim, but we refused to give up. Our love for each other and our commitment to our people gave us the strength to face the challenges ahead. On the eve of the battle, Antony and I stood on the palace balcony, looking out over the city. The lights of Alexandria twinkled below us, a reminder of all we were fighting for. "Cleopatra," Antony said softly, taking my hand. "Whatever happens tomorrow, know that I have always loved you. We have given everything for our dream, and I am proud of what we have achieved." Tears filled my eyes as I looked at him. "And I love you, Antony. We will face whatever comes together. Our love and our dream for Egypt will live on, no matter the outcome." As we embraced, I felt a deep sense of peace. The future was uncertain, but I knew that we would face it with courage and determination. The aftermath of Actium had tested us, but it had also strengthened our bond and our resolve. The next day, the battle began. Antony led our forces with bravery and skill, while I worked to support him and maintain the city's defenses. The fighting was fierce, and the outcome was uncertain. But through it all, we remained united, driven by our love and our vision for Egypt. The consequences of Actium had brought us to the brink, but they had also shown us the strength of our spirit. We were ready to face whatever came next, confident in our ability to protect our kingdom and our dream. The future of Egypt was at stake, and we would fight with all our might to ensure its survival. Chapter 13. The Final Days. The final days of our reign were filled with tension and uncertainty. Antony and I knew that Octavian's forces were closing in on Alexandria. Our efforts to rebuild after the defeat at Actium had been valiant, but we were running out of time and resources. The sense of impending doom hung over us, but we refused to surrender our hope. We spent long hours in the war room, planning our last stand. Antony was determined to fight until the end. His loyalty and courage never wavered. I admired his strength, even as I felt the weight of our situation pressing down on us. "Cleopatra," Antony said one night, "we must prepare for the worst. If Octavian breaches our defenses, we cannot allow ourselves to be captured. We need to have a plan." I understood the gravity of his words. Capture would mean humiliation and likely death. We had to consider every possibility. "We will fight with everything we have," I replied, But if the worst comes, we will face it together. We will not let Octavian destroy our legacy. We agreed on a plan. If the city fell, we would retreat to the palace and make our final stand there. We would not be taken alive. It was a grim decision, but one we felt was necessary to preserve our dignity and the honor of Egypt. As the days passed, the tension grew. Octavian's forces surrounded Alexandria, cutting off our supplies and tightening their grip. The people of the city were afraid, but they remained loyal. They looked to Antony and me for strength, and we did our best to provide it. One morning, as the sun rose over the city, the sound of battle filled the air. Octavian's forces were attacking. Antony led our soldiers with unmatched bravery. I watched from the palace, my heart heavy with worry. The fighting was fierce, and the outcome uncertain. By evening, it was clear that we were losing. Our soldiers fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Antony returned to the palace, his face lined with exhaustion and sorrow. "Cleopatra," he said quietly, "the city cannot hold much longer. We must prepare for the end." I nodded, my resolve hardening. "We will face it together, Antony. Whatever happens, we will not be separated." That night, as the city burned and the sounds of battle drew closer, Antony and I shared a quiet moment. We spoke of our love, our dreams, and the life we had built together. We found comfort in each other, knowing that we had given everything for our people and our kingdom. "Cleopatra," Antony said, his voice filled with emotion, "you have been my strength and my inspiration. I am proud of what we have accomplished. Our love has been a beacon in the darkness." Tears filled my eyes as I held his hand. "And you, Antony, have been my rock. We have faced every challenge together. I am grateful for every moment we have shared." As dawn approached, we knew the final battle was at hand. Antony went to lead our remaining forces, while I stayed in the palace, preparing for the worst. The sounds of fighting grew louder, and I knew that the end was near. Suddenly, a messenger arrived with devastating news. Antony had been wounded in battle. My heart ached as I rushed to his side. I found him lying on a stretcher, his face pale and his breathing labored. "Cleopatra," he whispered, his voice weak. "It is over. Octavian has won. But know that I love you, now and always." I held his hand, tears streaming down my face. "And I love you, Antony. We will face the end together, just as we have faced everything else." With a final shuddering breath, Antony slipped away. The pain of losing him was almost unbearable, but I knew I had to stay strong. I had made a promise, and I intended to keep it. As Octavian's soldiers stormed the palace, I retreated to my private chamber. I sent a trusted servant to bring me a basket containing a deadly asp. It was a grim choice, but it was the only way to ensure that Octavian would not take me alive. I sat on my throne, the snake hidden in the basket beside me. The door burst open, and Octavian's soldiers entered, their faces hard and unforgiving. I met their gaze with calm defiance. One of the soldiers stepped forward, his hand outstretched to seize me. With a swift motion, I reached into the basket and let the asp bite me. The poison worked quickly, and I felt a cold numbness spread through my body. As I lay there, the world fading around me, I thought of Antony. Our love had been strong and true, a guiding light in the darkest times. I felt a sense of peace, knowing that we would be reunited in the afterlife. The final days of Cleopatra and Antony were marked by courage, love, and an unyielding determination to protect our legacy. Though our kingdom had fallen, our spirit remained unbroken. We had fought for our people, our dreams, and each other. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Chapter 14. Cleopatra's Legacy. As I reflect on my life and reign, I see the profound impact I had on Egypt and the world. My journey was filled with challenges, triumphs, and moments of deep sorrow. But through it all, I remained committed to my people and my kingdom. My legacy endures, woven into the fabric of history and culture. My rule brought significant changes to Egypt. I strengthened our economy by improving agriculture and expanding trade. The Nile's fertile banks produced bountiful harvests, feeding our people and generating wealth. Our ports became bustling centers of commerce, connecting Egypt to the wider world. These economic advancements laid the foundation for a prosperous and stable kingdom. I also focused on education and culture. The Great Library of Alexandria flourished under my patronage, becoming a beacon of learning and knowledge. Scholars from around the world came to study, share ideas, and contribute to our growing collection of texts. This exchange of knowledge enriched our society and advanced our understanding of science, literature, and philosophy. Art and architecture thrived during my reign. I commissioned the construction of beautiful temples, palaces, and monuments that showcase the talent and creativity of our people. These structures blended Greek and Egyptian styles, reflecting the diverse influences that shaped our civilization. They stood as symbols of our cultural richness and resilience. My efforts to promote education extended to all levels of society. I established schools where boys and girls could learn to read, write, and study mathematics and science. I believed that an educated populace was essential for a strong and prosperous kingdom. These educational reforms helped cultivate a generation of thinkers, leaders, and innovators. My legacy also includes my diplomatic achievements. I forged alliances with powerful leaders and negotiated treaties that ensured Egypt's security and stability. My relationship with Julius Caesar and later with Mark Antony were pivotal in protecting our kingdom from external threats. These alliances, though fraught with personal and political challenges, were crucial in maintaining Egypt's independence and sovereignty. My life and reign have been the subject of countless stories, plays, and films. I am remembered as a queen of great beauty, intelligence, and strength. My dramatic encounters with Caesar and Antony have captured the imagination of generations. These tales, while often romanticized, highlight the complexities of my life and the choices I made to protect my kingdom and my people. Beyond the political and cultural achievements, my legacy is also deeply personal. I am remembered as a mother who loved her children fiercely and sought to secure their future. My efforts to educate them and prepare them for leadership were driven by my desire to ensure the continuation of our dynasty. My children, Alexander Helios, Cleopatra Selene, and Ptolemy Philadelphus, were my hope for the future. My influence extended beyond the borders of Egypt. My reign left a lasting impact on the Roman Empire and the Mediterranean world. The alliances I forged and the policies I implemented shaped the political landscape of the time. My interactions with powerful Roman leaders influenced the course of history, and my story continues to be studied and admired. Even in death, my legacy endured. After Octavian's victory, he sought to erase my influence, but he could not erase the mark I had made on history. My life became a symbol of defiance and strength, a testament to the enduring spirit of a queen who loved her kingdom and her people. As I look back on my reign, I see a tapestry of achievements. challenges, and moments of profound beauty. My legacy is not just the buildings I commissioned or the policies I enacted. It is the spirit of resilience and determination that I instilled in my people. It is the love and devotion I showed to my children, and my commitment to their future. It is the knowledge and culture that flourished under my patronage, enriching our society and the world. My story continues to inspire and captivate. It is a tale of a queen who faced immense challenges, but remained steadfast in her love for her people and her kingdom. It is a story of courage, intelligence, and the enduring power of the human spirit. My legacy is a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can achieve greatness and leave a lasting impact on the world. As the sun sets over the Nile, casting a golden glow on the waters, I feel a deep sense of peace. I am Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, and my legacy lives on. My life and reign have shaped the course of history, leaving an indelible mark on the world. I am proud of all that I accomplished, and I am confident that my story will continue to inspire future generations. In the quiet moments of reflection, I find solace in knowing that my legacy is secure. The temples and monuments, the libraries and schools, the stories and legends, all these are testaments to my enduring influence. My reign was a chapter in the grand story of Egypt, a story that will continue to unfold long after I am gone. As I take my place among the great rulers of history, I am reminded that our legacy is not just what we build, but the lives we touch and the love we share. My life was filled with passion, ambition, and a deep love for my kingdom. That love will endure, echoing through the ages as a beacon of hope and inspiration. Cleopatra's legacy is one of strength, wisdom, and unwavering dedication. It is a legacy that transcends time, reminding us all of the power of a determined heart and a visionary spirit. My story is far from over. It lives on in the hearts and minds of those who continue to dream and strive for a better world. Chapter 15. Remembering Cleopatra. As I reflect on my life and reign, I see how my legacy has endured through the centuries. My story, filled with drama, passion, and power, has captured the imagination of countless generations. Though my time has passed, I live on in the hearts and minds of people around the world. After my death, the story of Cleopatra became legend. Writers, poets, and historians wrote about my life, each adding their own interpretations and embellishments. They were fascinated by my intelligence, beauty, and determination. They told tales of my romances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, of my political cunning, and of my tragic end. In modern times, my story has been told in many different ways. Plays, movies, and books have brought my life to new audiences. Shakespeare's play Antony and Cleopatra is one of the most famous, depicting my relationship with Antony and our struggle against Rome. His words have immortalized me as a symbol of love and power. Movies have also played a significant role in shaping my legacy. Many actresses have portrayed me on the big screen, each bringing their own interpretation to my character. These films have reached millions of people, keeping my story alive and introducing it to new generations. Through these portrayals, I have become a cultural icon, a figure of fascination and intrigue. In education, my life is studied as part of ancient history. Students learn about my reign, my achievements, and my relationships with the powerful men of Rome. They study the political and cultural impact of my rule, understanding how I shaped the course of history. My life serves as a lesson in leadership, resilience, and the complexities of power. I am often portrayed as a figure of great beauty and intelligence, a woman who used her charm and wit to navigate a world dominated by men. but I am also seen as a tragic figure, a queen who fought bravely for her kingdom, but ultimately faced defeat. My story is a blend of triumph and tragedy, reflecting the complexities of my life. In literature, I am depicted in various lights. Some writers focus on my political acumen and strategic mind, highlighting my efforts to strengthen Egypt and secure its future. Others emphasize my personal relationships, exploring the love and passion that defined my life. These diverse portrayals ensure that my legacy remains rich and multifaceted. In popular culture, my image is iconic. My distinctive look, with elaborate headdresses and dramatic makeup, is instantly recognizable. Fashion designers and artists draw inspiration from my style, creating works that pay homage to my enduring allure. My name and image are used to evoke a sense of exoticism and grandeur, a testament to my lasting impact on the world. My story also resonates with those who seek inspiration from strong female leaders. I am seen as a trailblazer, a woman who defied the norms of her time to lead her people and assert her power. My legacy inspires women to pursue their ambitions and to lead with confidence and grace. In the realm of scholarship, historians continue to study my life, seeking to uncover the truth behind the legend. They examine ancient texts, artifacts, and archaeological findings to piece together a more accurate picture of my reign. Their work ensures that my story is not just a myth, but a part of the historical record. As I look back on my life, I am proud of what I accomplished. I ruled a powerful kingdom, forged important alliances, and left a lasting mark on history. My efforts to promote education, culture, and prosperity have had a lasting impact on Egypt and the world. My legacy is one of resilience, intelligence, and unwavering dedication to my people. Even in death, I am remembered not just for my beauty or my relationships, but for my strength and vision. I faced immense challenges and made difficult decisions, always with the goal of protecting my kingdom and my people. My life was filled with passion and purpose, and I am proud of the legacy I have left behind. As the years pass, my story will continue to be told and retold. Each generation will find new meanings and lessons in my life. They will see me as a symbol of what it means to be a leader, a lover, and a fighter. My legacy will endure, a testament to the power of a determined heart and a visionary mind. In the quiet moments of reflection, I find solace in knowing that I have left an indelible mark on the world. My life was a journey of triumph and tragedy, of love and loss. But above all, it was a story of unwavering strength and determination. I am Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, and my legacy will live on forever. Through the words of poets and the images of artists, through the lessons taught in classrooms and the stories told on stage and screen, I am remembered. My life continues to inspire and captivate, a beacon of hope and resilience for all who hear my tale. As long as there are those who seek to learn and to dream, my story will never fade.